audience who wants to film. Go.
Okay. It's the 1600s in Salem, Massachusetts. A huge witch scare spread across the world. Tens of thousands of innocent people were executed based off bogus evidence, some that didn't even exist. There are multiple sources providing descriptions of the Salem witch trials. I have done extensive research to ensure I am providing you with the most accurate information possible. The Salem witch trials were an important and interesting part of our history that I would love to teach you about. Today, I'm going to talk about the history behind the Salem witch trials. First, I'll talk about the beliefs that caused the witch trials to begin. Then I'll discuss the convictions and trials and about how Tituba played a vital role in the trials happening. So first I'm going to start with the beliefs that were like the background and how the witch trials came to be. So in early Salem, this is the background of early Salem. So before that, in the 14th to 17th century, a witch scare spread around Europe, which was according to Lautner from 2008. And during this scare in Salem, it became a felony to practice witchcraft. And back in the 1600s, the Puritans were the main religious group that lived in Salem. And they had strict moral and religious beliefs. And according to New England law, they believed that if their crops failed, it was because of the devil. It was the only reasonable explanation. It was the devil that made their crops not ripe. And they also feared those of other ethnicities due to their relation to magic and the devil. So there was this woman, her name was Tituba. She was a Native American slave from Barbados that served the Paris family. They were like one of the main families in Salem during this time. They were one of the most wealthiest families. And she was thought to worship the devil due to her ethnicity. So she will play a vital role in this, just keep mind of her name. So now I'm going to talk about the first happenings. So in January 1692, Betty Paris, age of 9, and Abigail Williams, age of 11, they started to have these fits. That was according to Weedman in 2024. And their symptoms included biting, being tormented, trying to crawl into holes. And they called in the town doctor. He was not able to find a cure, so he blamed the supernatural. And the girls said it was Tituba who was making them feel this way. And then according to Breslau of 1997, their neighbor Mary Sibley told Tituba to make a witch cake, which would help counteract the girls' fits, and it would tell them what's tormenting the girls. And during this time, there was also their neighbors, Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne. They were constantly fighting each other, and they were out of the normal because they were widowed and they didn't have any children. So they were just these weird people living in the town. So Tituba was a slave, so she was beaten until she had to confess into being a witch, or she would have died by being beaten to death. So she finally gave in, said she was a witch. And while she was on trial, she claimed that Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne were the two witches that possessed her to cause her to hurt Abigail and Betty. That was according to Breslau in 1997. And so Tituba created this imaginary confession about who were the witches, and it was all based off her Native American ideology. So she was able to create these descriptions of witches to get herself out of trouble. And so at the same time she was on trial, there were all these acts being put into place. So this was prior to, but according to New England law, the Witchcraft Act of 1604, it made it a minor offense for witches to go to prison for a year. If you were caught being a witch, you would go to prison for a year. And then if you were caught 2 times, you would be sentenced to death. And then in 1641, the Body of Liberties Act, it just solidified that if you were found a witch, you would be sentenced to death or hanging. And so at this time, there was the Court of Oyer and Terminer, which means hearing and determining, and they accepted this evidence called spectral evidence. And this evidence basically allowed dreams and visions to be used as evidence in court, whether they were real, they actually happened or not. So Abigail and Betty told the court that they had visions of Good and Osborne torturing them. So then the court was able to use this evidence against Good and Osborne to basically confirm they were witches. And then at some point in the 1600s, the governor's wife was accused of being a witch, and he sentenced a stop to all of these witch trials. And then overall, once the trials were stopped, 200 total people were accused of being witches in Salem, including Good and Osborne. And according to Goss of 1952, 19 people were hung, 1 was crushed by stones to death, and 5 were dead due to the poor prison conditions. 2 dogs were also killed, according to Weeben 2024. So in summary, the beliefs and trials behind the history of Salem are very strange yet intriguing. I hope you learned something new today. Thank you.